Hey guys, today I'm looking at Viewtiful Joe. Again, this was one of the games that was early on the GameCube, a game done by Capcom, and so I kind of knew about it tangentially as like, oh, that's like one of the GameCube exclusive games. That's kind of weird, action game, kind of, more so kid-focused and kid-friendly. And so I kind of got into it because it came out I got into it later, not at the time it came out, simply because of like, oh yeah, I remember this game and it had like a nifty idea. And so the basic premise of Viewtiful Joe is you play as Joe, who is basically this movie critic lover guy, kind of this dude, whatever, kind of like a Travis Touchdown kind of character. Except he's not as crude and as sadistic. He's just a total like movie nerd, essentially. And so the whole game is actually based around movie culture, if you could even call it such a thing. Essentially, where each level is based around a certain type or style of movie, from like westerns to like deep sea diving and monster movies and all that kind of stuff. And like mech movies as well as stuff like that. And so the main kind of abilities you have, so you have a punch and a kick, and so that will determine the direction in which you basically attack, essentially. And that's really important later on for certain bosses and things, where the main mechanic of this game is the slow motion mode. And so as you collect items in the stage, it'll increase your motion meter. And so when you start off, you get the slow motion mode, and what that's really used for is when you also have up dodge and a down dodge. So when you dodge correctly from an enemy, it puts them in a state where essentially they are super vulnerable and can be completely basically destroyed. And so this is really useful for when you have to take out a bunch of enemies, and is the main kind of mechanic of the game that allows you to really beat enemies up super effectively. And so when they have the slow status above them, you can basically hit them and they will fly back. Another useful thing for the slow motion ability is that besides your basic dodges, you can deflect back sort of missiles and bullets even, which is kind of the very cool thing. And so just as the enemy is about to fire, if you go into slow-mo mode and you punch the bullet back at them, you basically stun them, and then you do way more damage than you would if you fought them normally. And so there's a bunch of little challenges and little designs and things to this game, and certain things where you have to use a slow motion mode for puzzles and other kinds of things like slot machines. The next power you get is, I guess, fast motion mode or whatever, essentially where it speeds up everything. And so that's really useful because it'll turn Joe on fire, that he needs to be on fire for certain scenarios, and also it will do way more damage to a bunch of enemies. So if you have a bunch of weak enemies in front of you and you don't want to spend time fighting all of them, you can go to fast motion mode, and then you'll basically defeat them like really quickly. And again, depending on when you kick and punch in slow motion mode, it'll send the guy straight or on an upward vertical. And so that's very useful if you want to hit enemies into other kind of obstacles, or if there's certain, and things in the environment that need to be destroyed, specifically only destroyed through hitting enemies into them, then that's the way you kind of do it. Also, if you just go into slow-mo mode and you are hit by an attack, you will automatically dodge it. And I honestly had quite a bit of trouble between when you go into slow-mo mode and you want to basically dodge someone and then hit them, but I would, I guess, do my inputs a little bit too late, or I'd miss the dodge or something. And so then, because I'm slow-mo mode, it would automatically make me auto dodge and take a big chunk of my slow-mo meter, and that would get very frustrating because I keep getting hit over and over again when I was waiting for them to attack so I could dodge that and then put them into the status mode. Also, I think the frame for like hitting the bullets back, I'd always kind of miss that, and just as I'm about to hit, Joe automatically dodges, which is not what I wanted or intended. As you progress through the game, you also get other kinds of moves like Red Hot Kick and other things like that. And so these are moves that essentially allow you to do a lot more damage, and also give you a lot more sort of movability in slow motion, because even though you are moving in slow-mo and the enemies are slow, you're also very slow yourself. And so having that kick ability allows you to just have a lot more maneuverability, especially when you're just right below or right above an enemy where you need to punch them or kick them or something, and you just need to move a little bit in the right direction. The last power you get in this game is close-up. So if you hold, I think it's L and R together, or at least L, and then use the C stick to do a close-up, then you can basically do a bunch of super powerful moves, this kind of spin kick kind of thing. It kind of, brought all together, these kinds of attacks and whatever are kind of used for bosses when you just need to do a ton of damage or you're surrounded by enemies and you just need to do this incredibly powerful attack that kills them all at once. It's kind of what you use to do that. There's a lot of other cool things that you do when you go into slow motion mode. So like if you're fighting a helicopter, for example, you'll hear its motor blade shut down and it'll basically fall to the ground. And again, I'd have a lot of difficulty and frustrating moments in this game where I would want to kick a missile and I end up being slightly above and missing, and it'll end up essentially, I'll end up dodging it and taking a chunk of my slow-mo rather than hitting it or taking damage, which I prefer, honestly. And so yeah, that's pretty much an overview of the moveset. Again, there are some special moves you can get, like sliding down on the ground, being able to do the red hot kick, a spiral kick, a down dash, a bunch of other stuff. But that's pretty much the overview. So the main thing is dodging and then shifting to slow motion or fast motion. And that's pretty much it. It also has a very distinct cell shaded style. This game came out around the same time as Wind Waker, so they kind of were very much of the same kind of ilk or style and design. And so because of that, it's probably aged a lot better than a lot of other games in Capcom's library. And the overarching story is that Joe is this movie nerd whose girlfriend gets capped and pulled into the movie universe, and he has to go save her, and as well as meet his idol, which is Captain Blue, who is part of this old, I would say, Power Rangers-esque kind of show, essentially. And so you fight a lot of different kinds of wacky villains and criminals, and this is a game that feels like it doesn't really take itself too seriously. It feels like Capcom was really messing around and just having fun with this game and having a really good time. And so overall, I don't know, Viewtiful Joe, I'm not sure how to feel about it because I really enjoy its style and its characters and its design and everything and its mechanics and its gameplay. But sometimes those mechanics are just very frustrating, how they don't work exactly how you want them to, and that can just, again, like I said, get super, super frustrating at a certain point. But yeah, overall the game is, very good, very well made. It's just a lot of fun. The bosses themselves, I find that, there's no right way to do them. I mean, they all have kind of like this little thing you have to do. But most of them just require you to use slow-mo as much as possible and basically, fight them and do as much damage as you can in the shortest amount of time. And so you end up just cheesing a lot of bosses, frankly, instead of doing something that actually feels like you're making a massive difference. Also, I think it's great that Joe's code word is Henshin to Go-Go Baby. Again, I love Joe's design. I love Captain Blue's design. And, the final kind of stage has really good music. In fact, this whole game actually has a really banging soundtrack, frankly. It's one of the reasons I think a lot of people are still very fond of this game because of the music. But yeah, it's very satisfying to be able to hit back, rockets and missiles when the game does actually what you intended to do. It gets very fun, but a lot of the times you'll end up just accidentally dodging something and running out of all of your slow motion meter and then getting hit, and then having to wait for normal Joe to regain his powers before he can transform again and try again. Also, I like the designs of some of the characters and robots. There's some cowboy themed ones, some other movie tropes that are just really cool. And of course, you get graded after every single section, not level, but every section. So very much like Devil May Cry. And then it'll give you an overall score at the end of the level and tell you how well you did from A to D, with V being the highest, their version of the S rank, which stands for Viewtiful. But yeah, this is a game with a certain kind of energy. There's lots of really funny, silly puzzles that you go along with combat. And it's a very simple, whatever game. I guess it's aged a little bit, but it's still a very interesting concept and idea, and just a fun game overall to just play through. But yeah, with that being said, I think that's really it. So I'll see you later, guys. Bye.